Album covers are extremely important, and a good or bad one can make or break a record. But what about covers that are so crazy or so controversial that they are censored or banned entirely? Has this ever even happened? Well, yes, it has. And today, I wanted to look into some album covers that have been banned. Quick note, saying a cover is banned entirely is a little hard to do, especially because a lot of them were released and then recalled and replaced. And if it's an independent artist, then really you can do whatever you want, because before streaming, they couldn't really censor stuff aside from covering it up in a record store. So while most of these covers were technically banned, they are not too hard to find. No Love, Deep Web by Death Grips. One of the members of Death Grips, Zach Hill, took a picture of his fully erect wiener and wrote the title of the album on it. And yeah, that was the album cover. I'm sure you guys can understand why this was banned and censored on most platforms. He had some reason for it that I didn't really get, but this is what he said. It was difficult to do, honestly. In general, it was very difficult. It's difficult even telling people that's the source of it. It feels sacrificial in a sense. That idea existed long before, by the way. This is going to sound funny to other people, but we saw it as tribal, as spiritual, as primal. Also, it comes from a place of being a band that is perceived as such an aggressive, male-based, by some misogynistic-seeming band. It's a display of embracing homosexuality. Not that either of us are homosexual. Am I making sense? People are still going to think that it's macho, but that's not the source of where it comes from. Macho was not what came to mind when I saw this cover. Typically, it's sold in record stores in a black encasing, and some were saying that it was to protest their label because I guess there was some beef going on. I'm not sure. But yeah, that was a pretty controversial cover. The Origin of Feces Type O Negative. This cover is a close-up of Peter Steele's anus. He was the singer and bassist of the band. It was changed to a painting because why would anyone on earth want to look at that cover before? Not really much I have to say about this one other than gross, and do better next time, please. What the hell? Party Music by The Coop. I'm just going to show you this cover and you can guess why it's controversial. Created in June of 2001, it showed The Coop destroying the Twin Towers with a detonator. It was going to be released in September of that year, but I guess something happened and they couldn't do it. I'm kidding, but you guys know what happened and that caused them to delay the cover. It was eventually changed, but they tried to keep it as some sort of protest against the US government. However, that did not fly. I wonder if there's any cool theories about the fact that they plan to release this album with that cover in December though, or in September. That, I wonder. Yesterday and Today, The Beatles. This cover was pretty gross and kind of weird. It's often referred to as the Baby Butcher cover. It was supposed to be a statement against the Vietnam War in particular, but war in general. And there was actually 750,000 copies of the original cover printed. DJs hated it, and a lot of record stores refused to even stock it. So Capitol Records launched a recall, and they spent approximately $2.5 million getting the new cover and taking back all the old ones. And the new cover was, it was all right. Virgin Killer by the Scorpions. What are we even doing here, man? This one was a nude 10-year-old girl with shattered glass obscuring her genitalia. Apparently it was the daughter or the niece of the cover designer, which in my opinion is even worse. The guitarist claimed that it was the record company's idea, but he also has said before it was a great thing. But the other guitarist said it was done in the worst possible taste and said it was really cringy looking back on it. So I don't think they really had a succinct answer there. Regardless, it was only sealed again in black plastic, and in a lot of places it was replaced. This is the updated cover, which it's not a good cover by any means, but it's significantly better than the weird pedophilic one they had beforehand. Wikipedia actually got into a little bit of trouble for even having this cover on their website. They have the real original cover, and they got in trouble for it a few times actually, but they still have it up uncensored. Just a really weird choice all around. The Dawn of the Black Hearts, Mayhem. I've covered Mayhem and their crazy members multiple times, so I'm not going to go super in-depth here. But the cover was a picture of the lead vocalist of the band Mayhem, whose name ironically was dead. And it was a picture after he had taken his own life with a shotgun. Euronymous, the band's guitarist, found him, hitchhiked to the store to get a disposable camera, rearranged the items, and took a picture. All before he called the police. I'm pretty sure in the cover you can even see his brains falling out of his head. It's a very disturbing cover. The rest of the band, rightfully so, was upset at Euronymous. Dude, your buddy just died and you're taking pictures and doing photo ops, you know? So they were so upset that he promised he would destroy the pictures, but he didn't, and instead he sent them to the owner of a record label. And it's not an actual official Mayhem album, it's a bootleg live album, and it's rumored that Euronymous was involved in the creation, actually sending the cover art to the bootlegger. It might not be a rumor, I'm pretty sure that might be true, but again, the details are all kind of fuzzy. The album was eventually re-released with a picture of band member Necro Butcher, dope ass name, and Euronymous, as a fun fact, also made necklaces out of the skull fragments that Dead left behind. Euronymous was partly blamed for Dead's death because he antagonized him so much, so he did get what he had coming when Varg Vikernes killed him, and this is probably the craziest album cover story ever. This one, again, wasn't technically banned since it was never officially released, and again, when it was officially released, they obviously went for a different picture. Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. This cover depicts a robotic rapist about to be punished by a metal avenger. I didn't come up with that synopsis, that's what everyone else said. I'm not sure what metal avenger necessarily means, but it's a pretty cool graphic, and I can't lie, the artwork I think is really dope. I love how abstract everything is, although I think I could go without the rape part. This cover, though, was released, for a while, and my dad actually had a copy of it, which is an interesting fun fact. Apparently, it was supposed to be a symbolic statement, with the robot representing the industrial system that's raping and polluting our environment. Eventually, though, this cover, of course, was replaced by the cross with the skulls on it, since that's a little bit more family-friendly. Self-titled, Blind Faith. This was a supergroup made up with Steve Winwood, Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, and Rick Gretsch. They only put out one self-titled album with a disturbing, weird cover of a topless 11-year-old girl holding a model of a plane. The guy behind the cover had this really weird, long-winded reason as to why he thought this was a good idea for the cover that I don't really care much to get into. Again, I don't think there's really any justifying using nude kids in the album cover. This has happened twice, which is unreal. But I do want you guys to note that he approached a 14-year-old girl first, but she was too old for his concept, so kind of gives you an idea of how weird this guy is. And regardless, the cover was promptly replaced by a much more tame one, as you see on screen right now. Street Survivors by Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd released their album Street Survivors with this album cover. And you're probably wondering, apart from it maybe not being the best cover, what's the problem here? Well, 3 days after this album came out, the band was in a plane crash, which killed the lead singer, the guitarist, another singer, the road manager, and the 2 pilots. Obviously, at this point, the cover now seemed very insensitive, and it makes perfect sense. So, out of respect to the victims, they airbrushed out all of the flames, but the timing on this story is just crazy, especially considering some of the subject matter in the songs that were also released on that album. Heavy Petting Zoo, NoFX. This cover is kinda, I don't know. I mean, it's different covers with different sexual positions with a sheep. NoFX is a punk band, so I guess this is maybe some punk stuff. I don't know. I'm not really punk, so I don't quite get it. But Germany in particular was not happy with this cover, so they banned it and confiscated copies that were in public display.
Miau, ich bin eine Katze und ich habe ein Verlangen nach.
This was also in 1996, which definitely doesn't help, although I don't know, maybe it's not that much more popular now. I don't think there's any time period this would be good in. And then there's just a bunch of other covers that involve nudity that were banned. I'm going to go over 2 here, but there's plenty others. These are some of the more popular ones though, such as Country Life by Roxy Music. Back in 1974, Roxy Music released this album with 2 models on the cover showing off some nip and some bush, which back then, especially in 1974, was very controversial. I mean, you can maybe get away with it nowadays, but not back then. So in the United States, Spain, and some other places, they released the cover with just the bush, the one behind them, not the one on them. Electric Ladyland by Jimi Hendrix. This cover was inspired by the album title, Electric Ladyland, so a photographer was commissioned and photographed a room full of naked women holding Jimi Hendrix records. Not gonna lie, kinda tough if you're Hendrix. But again, this was very inappropriate, especially back in 1968. Crazy to think about. So the cover in most places was instead used as an inner sleeve in some countries, and apparently Hendrix himself didn't even love this cover, or at least that's what the PR move was to say. So in different countries, different covers were used, like this one, or probably most notably, this one. Let me know in the comments what are some band covers that I missed, or what you guys think about these ones, if some of them should have been banned. Some of them definitely should have. Let's not get crazy here. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later.